Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Terrence Carabo and today we're diving into a topic that hits incredibly close to home for so many of us. You see, when you're sick, when you're vulnerable, when you're literally putting your life in someone else's hands, the last thing you should have to worry about is whether the system designed to heal you is actually rotten from the inside. But that's the reality we're facing. Today, we're uncovering the top 10 most corrupt clinics in South Africa. This isn't just about naming and shaming, it's about understanding a crisis that affects millions. Healthcare integrity isn't some fancy, abstract concept. It's the difference between a mother giving birth safely and a tragedy that could have been prevented. It's the difference between getting the life-saving medication you need and being told it's out of stock because someone sold it on the black market. It's the foundation of trust between a patient and a doctor, a community, and its institutions. When that trust is broken, the consequences are devastating. Not just for individuals, but for the health of our entire nation. So, buckle up, because this is going to be a difficult conversation but a necessary one. We're going to look at the stories, the scandals, and the systemic failures that have turned places of healing into hotspots of corruption. We're not just talking about mismanagement, we're talking about alleged criminal syndicates, ghost employees, and tenders for friends that cost lives. This is about holding power to account and demanding the basic human right to decent, honest health care for every single South African. Let's get into it. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the Hillbrow Community Health Center. Now, Hillbrow, it's a place with a complex, vibrant, and often tough reputation. It's one of the most densely populated areas in the world. And this clinic is supposed to be its lifeline. Instead, it's become a symbol of systemic neglect and exploitation. The allegations here are gut-wrenching. We're talking about staff demanding bribes just for patients to see a doctor or to jump the queue. Imagine being in agony, and the person who is supposed to help you sees you not as a patient but as an ATM. It's a level of predatory behavior that's hard to comprehend. And the impact on patients? It's catastrophic. People with chronic conditions like HIV or TB have reported being denied their medication unless they pay a fee. Pregnant women have been turned away. The staff shortages are legendary, but then you hear stories of ghost workers, people on the payroll who don't actually exist. This means the clinic is perpetually understaffed, the few honest workers are completely overwhelmed, and the patients, the very people the clinic exists to serve, are left to suffer in queues that snake around the block, often for nothing. It's a complete breakdown of care where it's needed most. At number 9 we have a name that everyone in South Africa knows, the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital Clinic. This isn't just any hospital, it's the largest hospital in Africa, the third largest in the world. It's supposed to be a beacon of public health care. But its sheer size, it seems, has also made it a massive target for corruption. The reports coming out of Bara are staggering. We've seen cases of procurement fraud on an industrial scale. Tenders for everything from cleaning services to medical supplies allegedly being awarded to companies with political connections, delivering shoddy goods at inflated prices, or sometimes not delivering at all. The consequences are felt on the front lines every single day. Doctors and nurses have spoken out about having to work with faulty equipment or without basic supplies like gloves and syringes. Patients have died because critical machinery was broken, while the multi-million rand contract to service it was siphoned off. There have been scandals involving food contracts, where money meant to feed the sick was stolen, resulting in patients receiving inadequate nutrition. It's a betrayal on a grand scale, turning a national treasure into a case study of what happens when greed infects the system. Coming in at number 8 is the Charlotte Mac Seek Johannesburg Academic Hospital Clinic. The word academic in the title is supposed to signify excellence, a place of learning and cutting-edge care. Unfortunately, it's also been a school for scandal. One of the most infamous incidents was the fire that ravaged parts of the hospital in 2021. What came out in the aftermath was a shocking tale of neglect. Investigations revealed that fire safety equipment hadn't been serviced, hydrants didn't work, and smoke detectors were faulty. Why? Because the maintenance contracts were allegedly embroiled in corruption. But it goes deeper than that. Before the fire, the hospital was already a hotbed for corruption allegations. There were bombshell reports from the Special Investigating Unit, or SIU, detailing over 30 million rand in irregular expenditure linked to fraudulent contracts and payments. We're talking about everything from security tenders to the procurement of COVID-19 PPE. Doctors were blowing the whistle about syndicates within the hospital controlling appointments and supply chains, creating an environment where who you know is more important than what the patient needs. It's a place of higher learning where the primary lesson seems to be how to game the system. At number 7, we arrive at Tembisa Hospital, and the story here takes a truly dark and chilling turn. The corruption at Tembisa wasn't just about dodgy tenders, it escalated to the assassination of a whistleblower. Babita Deokaran, a senior finance official at the Gauteng Department of Health, was gunned down outside her home. Why? Because she was trying to stop the rot. She had flagged hundreds of millions of rands in suspicious payments out of Tembisa Hospital, transactions that were blatantly fraudulent. We're talking about a hospital paying 500,000 rand for a pair of skinny jeans. I'm not making that up. This wasn't just casual graft, this was organized crime. The nature of the corruption uncovered was a sophisticated network of shell companies and politically connected individuals who were systematically looting the hospital's budget. Over 1 billion rand in dubious contracts was identified. The hospital was essentially a cash machine for a powerful syndicate. Babita Deokaran's murder exposed the terrifying reality that in South Africa, trying to ensure that hospital funds are spent on patients, not on designer clothes for connected cadres, can get you killed. It's a story that sent shockwaves through the entire country and laid bare the brutal depths of healthcare corruption. Our number 6 spot goes to the Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital Clinic, and this one is particularly heartbreaking because of who it's meant to serve. This is supposed to be a sanctuary for pregnant women, new mothers, and sick children. Instead, it has been the subject of numerous investigations that paint a picture of chaos and decay. The findings from bodies like the South African Human Rights Commission have been damning. They found a facility in a state of disrepair, with failing infrastructure, severe overcrowding, and critical staff shortages. The investigations detailed how corruption has crippled the hospital's ability to function. There have been reports of syndicates stealing and selling medication, leaving vulnerable babies without essential antibiotics. The story of Dr. Tim de Meyer went viral after he wrote an open letter pleading for help, describing horrific conditions where premature babies were dying because of a lack of resources and preventable infections. The findings confirmed his warnings, highlighting how procurement irregularities meant that money for vital equipment and maintenance simply vanished, leaving doctors to work in conditions that belonged in a bygone century, not a specialist mother and child hospital. At number 5 is Leratong Hospital. The name Leratong means place of love in Sesotho, but the issues reported from this West Rand facility are anything but loving. Leratong has been plagued by a persistent stream of corruption allegations that touch almost every aspect of its operations. The problems are wide-ranging, from payroll fraud involving ghost employees to systemic theft of food and medical supplies. It's death by 1,000 cuts, where small-scale and large-scale graft combine to cripple the institution. Reports from unions and patient advocacy groups have summarized the issues: starkly security guards allegedly demanding bribes from visitors, kitchen staff stealing food meant for patients, and administrative clerks involved in selling patient files or fast-tracking appointments for cash. There have also been serious questions around procurement, with tenders for maintenance and services being awarded without proper procedure, leading to shoddy work and inflated costs. It's a place where the very spirit of its name has been betrayed by a culture of impunity and greed, leaving patients and dedicated staff feeling anything but love. Coming in at number 4 is another major Johannesburg institution, Helen Joseph Hospital. The story here is, honestly, a powerful example of the domino effect of corruption on healthcare delivery. When one part of the system is rotten, it causes everything else to collapse. Helen Joseph often has to pick up the pieces from other failing hospitals, like Charlotte Maxseek, and that leads to immense strain. But, it also has its own deep-seated problems. The effect on healthcare delivery is stark and immediate. Patients wait for months, even years, for critical surgeries because operating theaters are closed due to broken equipment that never gets fixed. Why? Because the maintenance contracts are allegedly tied up in corruption. There are chronic shortages of everything, from cancer drugs to bed linen. Whistleblowers have spoken of syndicates controlling the supply chain, ensuring that legitimate suppliers are sidelined in favor of front companies that overcharge and underdeliver. The direct result is a decline in the quality of care. It means treatable conditions become life-threatening, and doctors are forced to make impossible choices about who gets care and who has to wait, all because money meant for the front line has been diverted. At number 3, we travel to the Vaal Triangle to Sabokeng Hospital. If other hospitals suffer from systemic issues, Sabokeng has been described as a free-for-all. The scale of the corruption reported here is, honestly, just breathtaking. It's not just one type of graft, it's a full menu. We're talking about massive tender fraud, where contracts worth hundreds of millions of rands were awarded for projects that were either never completed or were done so poorly they were useless. A classic example was the construction of a new hospital wing that was plagued by irregularities and remains a monument to waste. The type of corruption is multifaceted. There's the high-level procurement fraud, but there's also the day-to-day stuff. Allegations of jobs for sale are rampant, meaning unqualified people are placed in critical positions. Staff have been implicated in stealing and reselling state medication, creating artificial shortages inside the hospital. There have been reports of fuel theft from hospital vehicles, and food meant for patients being sold off by the truckload. It's a complete hollowing out of a public institution, where it seems every possible angle for illicit enrichment has been explored and exploited, with devastating consequences for the community it's supposed to serve. Our runner-up for the most corrupt clinic, at number 2, is Mamelodi Hospital. This facility became infamous nationally not just for its corruption, but for the shocking abuse that came to light, and the powerful public response it triggered. The story of Martha Murray, a 76-year-old woman found tied to a steel bench in the hospital's casualty ward, became a national symbol of the dehumanizing impact of a broken system. This wasn't just neglect, it was an act of cruelty that spoke to a deeper malaise within the hospital's culture. The public response was immediate and furious. Protests erupted and the SA Human Rights Commission launched a full-scale investigation. What they and other official bodies found was a hospital riddled with problems stemming from corrupt management and a culture of impunity. There were reports of staff absenteeism, drunkenness on duty, and syndicates extorting money from patients. In response to the outrage, the Gauteng Department of Health was forced to act. Several staff members were suspended, and the hospital management was overhauled. It was a clear case of community and media pressure forcing accountability where there had been none. And at number 1, the top of our list of South Africa's most corrupt clinics, we have Folosong Hospital in Sekon. Folosong has been a perennial feature in reports on healthcare dysfunction, embodying a toxic mix of all the problems we've discussed: severe staff shortages, crumbling infrastructure, and deep-rooted corruption. For years, it was known as a place where patients feared to go, with horrific stories of neglect and a management that seemed indifferent to the chaos. The SIU has investigated numerous contracts linked to the hospital, uncovering millions in irregular expenditure. However, the reason Folosong is at number 1 is not just for its history, but for what's happening now. It represents the crucial question: can these institutions be fixed? In recent times, following immense pressure and numerous damning reports, there have been signs of attempted reform. New management has been put in place and there have been promises of a complete overhaul of the hospital's systems and a clampdown on corrupt syndicates. The latest updates speak of small but significant improvements in patient care and staff morale. It's a slow, arduous process and the jury is still out, but Folosong represents both the nadir of the crisis and the faintest glimmer of hope that with sustained pressure and genuine political will, reform is possible. So there you have it, 10 stories, 10 institutions, but one single devastating narrative of betrayal. From Johannesburg to the Vaal, the pattern is sickeningly clear. A system designed to save lives is being systematically looted by a web of corrupt officials, predatory syndicates, and connected cadres. The names and faces of the victims of this corruption may not always make the headlines, but they are our grandmothers, our brothers, our children. They are the people who die waiting for a surgery, who get sicker because medication is stolen, who lose their dignity in the corridors of a crumbling hospital. This cannot be the end of the story. We can't just watch this, get angry and then move on. We have to stay informed and most importantly, we must demand accountability. This means supporting the brave whistleblowers who risk everything to expose the rot. It means putting pressure on our elected officials, not just during elections but every single day to clean up this mess. It means demanding transparency in government tenders and real consequences for those who are caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Our collective health as a nation depends on the integrity of these institutions. This list is by no means exhaustive. These are just the cases that have received significant media and investigative attention. The sad reality is that this problem likely runs much deeper. That's where you come in. If you know of any other clinics that should be exposed, let us know in the comments. Share your stories, share your knowledge. The more we talk about this, the harder it is for the corrupt to hide in the shadows. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay engaged, and let's demand the healthcare system we all deserve.